Hello, everybody. Welcome back to my channel, and thank you for joining me for another true crime video. I hope you guys are all having a great day so far, as we are now in May, which is crazy. We are almost halfway through 2024, and that is just wild. Now, for today's video, I wanted to talk about the increasingly controversial Karen Read trial. This case, I did a video on it a while back, just a quick summary, a quick overview. It was just a couple minutes long. But we are just week one into this trial, and I don't know if you guys are watching, but this is going to be crazy. They're expected to go, I think, 6 to 8 weeks. This is just one of those trials that you've got to watch. So I wanted to discuss this trial, and I'll continue to do updates on this kind of week by week. Now, in these videos that I do to cover these trials, I'm going to try to put aside everything that I've already learned so far. So I want to go through this trial with an open mind, really look at the evidence and the arguments that the attorneys are making. Because so often I think that with these cases, especially the ones that are very high profile like this one, we often only hear one side of the story, and much of the information that we hear might be based on rumors and conspiracies. And oftentimes, if you're anything like me, you might form your opinions based on these things without looking at the full picture. I am trying to go into this trial with an open mind, much as a jury member is supposed to. And I want to come to my own conclusions based on the arguments and the evidence presented in the courtroom. With that being said, just as a quick overview for this case, Karen Read is accused of killing her boyfriend, Officer John O'Keefe, by hitting him with her car and leaving him outside to die in the snow. Now, the state originally did not charge her with this crime. Initially, it was something along the lines of accidental. However, as the investigation continued, they increased the charges to second-degree murder, meaning they have to prove intent in order for her to be found guilty of that charge. On day one, we got into opening statements, and in my personal opinion, I found that the prosecution, or the Commonwealth, as it's often referred to as in Massachusetts, I found that their opening statements was lackluster. I found that there was no real structure in how they presented their case. And when it comes to the jury, opening statements are crucial. And as much as we want to go off of evidence, as human beings, we like a story and we like to be able to follow things. And I don't think that the prosecution executed their opening statement well. Prosecutor Lally kind of bounced from one timeline to another, once talking about an incident that that happened in Aruba, next talking about the night in question, and then going back to the bar. And it seems like he kind of just jumped from one timeline to another. Additionally, he was very monotone when he's talking, and it's just very, very hard to listen to. Not to mention, if you watched the Johnny Depp and Amber Heard trial, he really brought that Elaine energy, and I do not mean that as a compliment. Much of his questioning was, what if any? Who, if any? At one point, I'm pretty sure that he asked who, if anybody, was driving the fire truck. And I'm not even kidding. Who, if any, was driving the fire truck, insinuating somehow that there is a possibility that nobody was driving the fire truck. It just came off very unorganized and it was hard to follow. And I'm sure that the jury might have sensed that as well. Now, the defense came in strong right from the get go, immediately outlining their defense. Karen Read was framed. They go on to point out the lead investigator, Trooper Michael Proctor, and his very questionable actions, some would say reprehensible actions, as they allege that Trooper Michael Proctor seized Karen Read's cell phone without a warrant. But it gets worse.
Lead investigator Trooper Michael Proctor, right from the start, called Karen Read names you would reserve only for your worst enemies. He told his friends that he hoped that she would kill herself. He told his friends that he had seized her cell phone. And you will learn that he knew he shouldn't have been accessing any content on her cell phone because he knew there would likely be He knew that he was supposed to wait for a search warrant or other permission from a judge in order to go through that phone. But you'll learn that he went through the phone anyway, without permission. And you'll know that he did because he told his high school buddies that he was searching her phone for nude photos of Karen Read. And he was disappointed he hadn't found any yet. That is the professional and unbiased investigator who was chosen to lead the investigation into the death of John O'Keefe.
So, a theme throughout the defense's opening statement, as well as their questioning, was the poor police work, the shoddy investigation, as well as the unethical behaviors on behalf of the police officers. The Commonwealth started off the questioning beginning with family members. First, we had John O'Keefe's brother, Paul, and then the sister in law, Erin. They both testified that Reed and O'Keefe had relationship issues, often revolving around the fact that John had recently taken in his niece and nephew after their parents had passed away. It was the types of fights that you can expect in any normal relationship. And what I found to be quite odd, especially considering that these are supposed to be the prosecution's witnesses, was that they stated that John was upset because Karen was almost doing too much for the kids, spending too much on them. One instance was when Erin mentioned that Karen went and got donuts for the children, and John was upset about it. It just seems to paint Karen Read in a good light. And it was odd that the answers were coming from the questions being asked by the prosecution rather than the defense. Now, with these two witnesses, the defense team decided not to cross examine them, which, in my opinion, was a great move, as their angle throughout this trial is that Karen Read is grieving along with them. So the defense team really is looking to get justice for John O'Keefe as well. And if at any point they looked to be aggressive towards these grieving family members, I think it would have done more harm than good. Now, after these witnesses, week one primarily focused on the scene outside of the Albert residence the morning John O'Keefe was found deceased. The witnesses then consisted of first responders because much of the prosecution's theory relies on the claim that Karen Read admitted that she hit John O'Keefe and was the cause of his death. Now, inarguably, if she had admitted that she hit him, that evidence would be very damning. However, the defense team did a great job in their cross examination of these witnesses, as nearly every single one of them altered their statement in some way, making their statements look very inconsistent. In addition, the defense attorney, Ellen Jackson, did an incredible job poking holes into these claims, as many of these first responders never wrote this down in the report, never related to the ER doctors, nor did they ask any type of follow up questions to Karen Read, such as, what did you hit him with? How hard did you hit him? Or ask any type of follow up question to get more information out of her. If it were true that Karen Read, in fact, hit John O'Keefe with her car, this detail seems to be a pertinent piece of information to be left out of their reports. Part of the defense strategy is that where this happened in Canton, Massachusetts, this is a very small town, and Karen Read was framed. And to do so was possible because there are many close connections to those involved in the investigation. Another witness, a first responder, Katie McLaughlin, testified to hearing Karen Read admitting to hitting John O'Keefe. But during the cross examination, she was asked if she knew someone named Caitlin Albert. At first, McLaughlin says that she went to school with somebody named Caitlin Albert. However, they weren't really friends. Then, in attempts to have this witness impeached, Jackson introduced evidence showing a number of photos of the witness, Caitlin McLaughlin, and Caitlin Albert together. Now, for the sake of fairness, it seems like the photos were with people kind of in a large group together, maybe like a school trip type of thing. And I can certainly say that I have several photos out there with people that I wouldn't call my close friends. So Katie might be telling the truth that she's not really friends with Caitlin Albert. However, to the jury, it may look like she was trying to downplay their relationship, which really plays into the theory that the defense is putting forth, that this isn't a very small town and everybody knows everybody except for Karen Read. She's kind of the outcast in this situation. So considering what the defense is saying about Karen Read being framed, it just looks real bad. Then Katie McLaughlin was essentially backed into a corner. And while she was holding her ground much of the time, she eventually conceded that her story of what happened that night has evolved.
Is that right or no? Yes or no?
No, there was more to that testimony.
That's not what you said yesterday?
I think I said more than that, than what you just repeated.
Is what I said consistent with what you said yesterday? There's a lot of things that you said, more of. I'm asking, is that the sum and substance of what you told these jurors yesterday?
Yes.
So you would agree that from that time till yesterday, your story has evolved. It's changed.
Would I agree with that?
No.
I don't know that I agree with that.
You think the story that you told Trooper Proctor is exactly the same
I understand what you're saying. So I understand what you're saying.
So has your story evolved?
Okay, yes.
Okay.
Another witness, Matthew Kelly, who happened to be a rookie the time that this incident took place, testified that he never heard Karen Read say, "I hit him." Now, again, to be fair, while this is all happening, they're saying that it was snowing, things were loud. Karen Read was kind of walking around the area. So it is possible that if she did say that, he didn't hear him. But again, the defense is doing a great job in putting that doubt into the minds of the jury. During a cross-examination, the other defense attorney, David Vignetti, points out that there were multiple police officers at the scene that morning. A Canton police officer admitted on the stand that while searching for evidence using a leaf blower, not a single piece of taillight was uncovered.
What other officers were in that area sort of watching what was going on or participating in the search for what was going on?
I don't necessarily recall where everybody was, but I believe it would be Sergeant Link and Sergeant Good.
And they were superior officers, correct?
Correct.
And you understood that these brother officers of yours were looking for evidence, right?
Yes.
They were looking for clues about potentially what had happened to John O'Keefe, correct?
Yes.
And you were paying attention too as they were doing their work, correct?
Yes.
You were looking for anything that might have been out of place, correct?
Yes.
If there was something large there that didn't appear to, be appropriate for a front lawn, you would have made note of that, correct?
Yes.
And if there was something small there, you would have still made note of that if it didn't appear to belong on a front lawn, correct?
Yes.
At any point in time, either before or after the leaf blower was taken out by Lieutenant Gallagher, did you see 45 pieces of bright red, black, and clear plastic pieces scattered all over the scene?
I did not.
Did you find or see even one piece of broken plastic?
I did not.
Now, as a side note, I live in California and we do not get snow. So maybe this is just unusual to me, but have you ever heard of investigators using a leaf blower? It just seems like it would be poor protocol if you wanted to keep the integrity of a crime scene together. It seems as if you would be blowing away possible DNA or whatever else, but I don't know. But this testimony was crucial as the Commonwealth claims that nearly 50 pieces of taillight was found at the crime scene, and the taillight is supposed to be consistent with Karen Read's vehicle. However, they wouldn't find those pieces of taillight until days later, coincidentally after Karen Read's SUV was seized by police. Now, again, this doesn't mean that she is innocent. However, as the defense is claiming that much of this investigation was done poorly, this doesn't look good. Again, all of these areas has to be putting some form of doubt into the minds of the jury. Now, if it seems like I am primarily focusing on what the defense is saying, that is because the prosecution at this point is basically playing on defense, meaning they're almost entirely focused on attempting to rebut the defense's claims rather than prove that Karen Read is guilty. In my personal opinion, I haven't seen much where they are actually proving their case to me. Now, again, it's only week 1 of this trial, and I believe that it is supposed to be 6 to 8 weeks long. So there's certainly time for the prosecution to turn up the heat and maybe take this thing back and put out some more damning evidence. But in my opinion, it's off to a rough start for the prosecution. But that's just my opinion. Let me know what you guys think down below. That's all I have for week 1. I will keep you updated as this continues. Let me know what you guys think. What do you think about the prosecution? Are they proving the guilt of Karen Read to you? Do you think she's guilty as of right now? Has your opinion of this case shifted since the evidence in week 1 has come out? Let me know all of your thoughts and theories down below. Make sure you hit the subscribe button before you go. like this video so I know you like more content like this. Other than that, I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.